Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be doing my December TBR and I'm going to be talking about the books that I'm going to read in December. Now, since December is a holiday month for me, I have usually a lot more time to read, and so I'm going to be including more books in this TBR because I'm hoping that I'll be able to pick them all up. Again, I am a mood reader, so I don't always stick to my TBRs, but I do like to have it planned out just in case, and sometimes it's fun to be able to pick something that I have planned out when I can't figure out what I want to read next. So the first book I'm going to talk about on this TBR is Haven Fall by Sarah Holland. I still haven't read this one. I know that it was on another TBR, but I never got to it. It's not very long, so it shouldn't take me too long to read. And it's just absolutely stunning with the gold foiling and the blue sprayed edges. I've been really looking forward to this one. I haven't heard a ton about it on BookTube, and I don't think that it's rated badly. I think the ratings were pretty decent for this, around like 3 or 4 stars, so I think that's pretty good. And I heard that it was an enjoyable read. This is a standalone book. It's based on a story where this inn that the main character works at and has in her family is sitting on top of these 3 worlds, and the main character's destiny is to protect her family's legacy, which is to protect the alliance between these 3 worlds. But then a murder kind of shatters all of that, and she has to kind of restore all this trust and legacy for her family. So it seems like a really good read. The cover and the pages are beautiful, so I'm hoping that it's good because I love when a story is just as beautiful as it looks. The second book on my TBR is Bone Criers Moon. This is the stunning Fairy Loot copy. I feel like this one has been hyped up so much on BookTube. It was on a lot of people's anticipated reads for the year, and it's one of those enemies to lovers stories, which I know a lot of us enjoy that kind of trope, and so it's really popular all over BookTube. This is written by Catherine Purdy. I don't think I mentioned her name earlier, and it is the first in, I believe, a series. I don't think this is a standalone. This story is about a certain type of world where magic exists in a very brutal sense. So we have these bone criers who, in order to become initiated into their magical circle, have to kill their one true love, and we have our main character who has to kill her one true love, and his father was also killed by a bone crier, and thus kind of starts our story. So it's kind of this like cat and mouse chase is what I get from the synopsis. It sounds really intriguing, really interesting. This is another fantasy YA novel, and I've been reading a lot of fantasy, and I feel like the holiday season is the perfect time to just keep reading fantasy and keep getting away because it'll get a lot colder here in New England. If you guys have read this book or have heard of it, let me know. I feel like a lot of folks have read this, a lot of folks have loved it, and those that haven't read it are just kind of waiting to read it, but I think a lot of people have. So if you've read it, let me know. I want to hear your thoughts. I want to hear if it's good or not. So far, all I've heard are really good things and nothing bad, and it makes me want to read this book even more. So the third book on my list is another popular BookTube read that I haven't yet read, and that is To Kill a Kingdom by Alexandra Christo. This is a standalone YA fantasy, and I've heard it's one of the better standalone fantasies that is out there right now. This is basically a take on The Little Mermaid, kind of in an evil-ish sense. So this is about the princess of the sirens who apparently is really good at killing human princes, and then something goes wrong and she kills one of her own sirens. So the queen, in order to show punishment to her subjects, needs to find a way to punish the princess, and so she does this by turning the princess into what she hates the most, which is being a human. And there is also a prince in this story who his sole passion, what he's good at doing, is killing sirens, and then he ends up rescuing this woman in a human body, and he ends up rescuing this female who is just a human, and she promises to help him destroy all of siren kind, and it happens to be obviously our princess, by what we can tell from the synopsis. So it seems like it's gonna be one of those like friends to enemies to lovers, like it's gonna have several tropes from those romantic type of fantasy tropes that we're so used to seeing, and I just heard really good things about it. I don't think I've heard one bad thing. It hasn't been as hyped up as other books like the Sarah J. Maas books or the V.E. Schwab books, but everyone that's read it has really loved it, and so it just makes me want to read it more. And what better time than the holidays to read a fairy tale type story, especially one that's a lot more lethal than your casual Disney princess story. The next one I want to mention is just purely because I've been reading this series and I might as well just finish it off. It's been an okay series, and that is The Red Queen by Victoria Aveyard. I think that's how you pronounce her name. I'm still reading the third of this series right now, and I think I'll finish it pretty soon. So I figured I would just show War Storm as part of my TBR for December, because I'll probably want to read that maybe if I still like the series after the third book. So this series is good. I can see why at first it was really hype on booktube, but there are certain things I feel that are missing that other series capture really well. This one doesn't, but I think if you're going to get into YA or you're not really a great reader, something like this might be a good fit for you. So I'm just gonna add this to my TBR because I'll probably hopefully get to it. I'm not sure if I'll like it, but we'll see. I know that this series kind of has a hot and cold love to it on YouTube. So some folks really love this series and say that it's one of their favorites, and then others just let me know that it's very like pedestrian, I guess you could say, and isn't their favorite and is very conventional in terms of stories and tropes. And yeah, I would agree with that in a certain sense, but there are some interesting differences to this and some underlying themes to this series that I do find interesting, which kind of keeps you wanting to finish and read it. If you've read this series, again, let me know what you thought of it. I always want to know what people think of these types of long-standing old booktube series because it was really popular at one point. Another book that I really want to read came in one of my Illumicrate boxes, and I haven't heard about this book at all before. I don't think anyone on booktube is talking about it as far as I know, but when I read the synopsis I thought it was so interesting and I definitely want to read it. It's kind of something between sci-fi and fantasy. It doesn't seem totally fantasy, but it also doesn't seem totally sci-fi. Either way, it's fiction, and I'm pretty sure it's YA, and it's called The Space Between Worlds by Micaiah Johnson. It's got a beautiful fuchsia purple cover and beautiful fuchsia pages. So I am in love with the design of this book, but the story sounds even better. So this is set in a world where a certain human has cracked being able to travel through the different multiverses, the different universes. But you can only travel to a multiverse if your doppelganger in that multiverse is dead, because they all parallel each other is what I understand from the book. And so we have our main character Kara, who is dead in all but 8 of these multiverses, and just keep in mind there are 380 of them, so she's dead in all but 8. And in one of the multiverses her doppelganger ends up dying, so of that 8 one of them ends up dying, and she goes into that world and discovers these secrets and other things that will tie into her past, present, and future life path. So to me that sounds really different than the other stories that I have heard in terms of sci-fi. I've definitely heard about multiverses and doppelgangers, but never in this way. I find it really different, and I feel like this is a sci-fi-ish book that I could get into because I'm on the fence when it comes to sci-fi. I'm not really sure if I'm gonna like it or not, but I'm really hoping that this is gonna be good and that it kind of has a fast pace because it does seem a little shorter than other books on my TBR. I don't know if anyone else has heard of this book or has read it, but I'm really excited to read this, and I'm hoping that I get to it because I feel like this might be a hidden gem. Like legitimately, I think this might just be one of those really hidden gem books, and I don't know why no one's talking about it yet. The next book that I want to read, I finally got my copy in the mail, and I got 2 copies of this, but I will show you the Illumicrate copy. It is V.E. Schwab's The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue. Now, this is so hyped on booktube. Everyone's heard of it, and I think most folks have read it. I actually haven't gotten the chance to read it because my copies came in a couple weeks ago, but I'm really excited to finally have my hands on these and be able to read it. I haven't actually read any of V.E. Schwab's other works, but this is probably going to be the first one that I start with because I'm just can't wait to read this book anymore. I've heard so many good things. There was a book club about this in October, but I just wanted to wait for my real life physical copy because I do really enjoy physical reading a lot more than anything else. It just seems so beautiful. For those of you that haven't watched my Battle of the Boxes video, this is what the book looks like on the inside, and this is the spine. It's absolutely stunning, and it came with black glittery edges. So this is the inside cover of the book. It's a stunning version, and I really love the silver on black. I don't think that I could have asked for a better version of this novel. So I know that a lot of you have already read this book, so let me know what your reviews were down below. If you have any YouTube videos that you've made about this, reviewing it, let me know. I'd love to watch them. Obviously spoiler free because I want to watch them before I get into this, but this just seems like an amazing, amazing novel, and I can't wait to get into it. So if you read this, let me know in the comments down below. The next book I want to read, I don't have a physical copy of, and I'm not sure that I'm gonna buy the physical books, but I will be reading them from my library, and that is A Court of Thorns and Roses by Sarah J. Maas. Now, I've been wanting to read this series. I've heard a lot of recommendations from a few of you that have told me that I should read this series, especially if I liked Throne of Glass, but the Throne of Glass was a little bit better than this one. Either way, I'm still excited. I love fae and fae stories, and I figure that I could probably read at least the first book, if not the entire series, over the holidays. So we'll see. I'm excited. I think after I read A Court of Thorns and Roses, I'm gonna read the next book by Sarah J. Maas that everyone was hyped about this year. So that'll be really exciting to just kind of get through most of the books that she's written, because I do like her writing style. I know that a lot of people on BookTube don't love her, but I really like Throne of Glass, so I feel like I'll probably just like a lot of the books that she comes out with, even if they're similar in story. So that's it for today's video. A longer TBR for sure, but it's December, so why not? If you guys enjoyed this video, please click the like button and please subscribe to my channel, because it helps support my channel and create more content for you guys. Thank you.